Hey, how's it going, everyone? Sephir here, and I wanted to take some time aside to rant and or talk about in-game crafting in New World and what that looks like. So far, I've been playing quite a lot, and by quite a lot, I mean probably way more than I should be. I currently have 200 hours on the beta. Yes, beta, you heard that right. Beta has only lasted 2 weeks, not 200 weeks, and 200 hours on that is quite a significant amount of time. So I wanted to share some things that I learned with you, and see if that would help you along your way. There's a lot of mistakes that I made that I wish I knew about, and things that I know right now that going into the launch of New World will significantly help anybody that kind of pays attention to these things. So in the beta, we played on Nerea server, and I think I was the first person to hit level 60. And when I hit level 60, I noticed that I immediately was stopped upon hitting 60. And what I had to do was I had to backtrack and do crafting. I had to backtrack and do some of the legendary quest lines, which we'll get into in another video. And so the biggest thing for me was this right here, stone cutting, right? So if you see at the top right here, I'm 200 stone cutting. This took forever to max out. We had to pull resources from Trinity Guild from different people, so huge shout out to everyone that helped get me some of the gems and materials so that I could get up to 200 to test this. And why did I want to get 200? Because of this simple item right here, runestone. What is a runestone? It is a 200 crafting level item that has a cooldown. If you notice this little clock over here to the left, um, it is actually a 1 day cooldown, similar to items like Arcanite Bar in World of Warcraft. So you can make 10 of these every 1 day. And that becomes very important when you go to make any key for a dungeon. And the dungeons, or expeditions as they call them in this game, are the prime source of getting high level gear and legendary gear and things of that nature. So as you can see here, this is the Lazarus Tuning Orb, which unlocks the Lazarus Instrumentality Expedition. It requires 10 runestones. So by that logic, you can only craft one of these once every day. And that's assuming that you have 200 in the trade skill stone cutting. So, in my opinion, this particular crafting profession is a must for any in-game PvEer or PvPer. You will be getting this because the gear that comes from this dungeon is the highest in the game. So if you want the best stuff, you want best in slot, you need to be crafting this. The other hard point that I learned about crafting this item is this corrupted lodestone, which comes from converting up these corrupted slivers, fragments, shards, and then eventually a lodestone. As you can see, it takes 5 to make 1 green, 4 greens to make a blue, 3 blues to make a purple, and then 2 purples to make a legendary. And the thing with that is that you can only get that from these right here. Greater rifts, the greater rifts, not the smaller ones. They actually give you nothing. The greater rifts give you a box that allows you to get the sliver, fragments, shards, and all that stuff from. However, in these box, it scales with the level. So if you're going to a level 25 Greater Rift, which there are currently 2 in Everfall, they're on about a 30-minute to an hour respawn time, and you will get, for the Greater Rift, you'll get a few slivers, maybe a fragment if you're lucky, which is the gray and green quality items. If you go to a 45 portal, which there are 3 up currently in Morningdale, one of the 45 zones, you will get sometimes green fragment, sometimes a blue if you're incredibly lucky. And when we did the 65 portals in Mirgard and the Shattered Mountains up here, you got sometimes a blue shard, sometimes green. I've heard rare occasions of getting a purple. I don't know if it's possible to get a legendary, but it may be. So as you can imagine, that grind is going to be quite tedious because there are some portals. However, The ones on the outer side will despawn, as far as I know, and you'll be on that 30-minute to 1 hour cooldown. And the ones in the northern section, these ones in Mirkgard, will, I believe they come back pretty quickly. They kind of auto-generated there because there has to be portals in this area due to the fact that one of the late game story bosses is here, Captain Thorpe. So that will probably be a way to get your crafting of these keystones. So why would you need a keystone? You need a tuning orb, sorry. A tuning orb allows you to enter the dungeon. Only one person in your party needs it, and I think these are going to be very valuable in the end game because it's going to be hard to craft these things. You have one item that's on a timer. You have one item that's bind on pickup and a very tedious grind. You have the Lazarus core, which is just an elemental dump, so you're going to need a lot of motes of different elements, which is just a crafting component that you'll find along the way, but you need quite a few of them. You need some rare drops from some elites around some of the areas that are like high-level elites, like 60 plus. So these are going to be all things that are going to be super tedious to farm. So if you think it stops there, you're wrong, sadly. So if we go ahead and take a look at some of the other areas, like forging, for example. Oh, this is smelter, wrong one. Alright, we'll head over here. Forging. I have found some of the crafting materials required to make the 200 level weapons. And what are these? These are the best in the game that we've seen so far. They have 600 gear score, and they come preset with a lot of really valuable abilities. So in this, you are going to see these items called, right here on screen, Asmodeum, right? Asmodeum is the same thing as that runic cube I was talking about earlier. However, it's for smelting. And it also has the clock on it, which is in the bottom left here, down at the bottom. We only had enough resources to test the stone cutting. I don't know of anyone who has 200 smelting, but I'm assuming that this follows the same pattern as stone cutting would. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that you can make 10 of these every 1 day. So if you imagine how many level 200 smelters there's going to be on a server versus how many people are going to want to be crafting their best in slot legendary, you're going to see the disparity there, right? So these items are going to go really high in the market. They're going to be scarce. You're probably not even going to be able to get them unless you're creating them yourself. So this is why crafting is really important. So what does that mean in general? So in general, you are going to need a few crafting professions leveled up to 200. And as you saw with the spear, this one particularly required me to do blacksmithing. I also have the one for the life staff, which requires arcana in the other section. So whatever your weapon is, you're going to want 200 in whatever trade skill that weapon comes from. So if you're a magic user using fire staff, ice gauntlet, you're going to want 200 in arcana in order to access the in-game legendary weapon. So this is just a requirement for min-maxing. Like if you want best in slot stuff, you're gonna need to be doing this. So keep an eye out on that on the way. The best way to go about that, however, is to wait until you are level 60, because once you are level 60, it makes gathering and professions a lot easier because you have access to high level gear that boosts gathering. For example, in my inventory, I have a helmet that gives skinning, right? And this model is only level 40, but it's just an example. There is a level 60 model, and it will give 20-something odd dex, and also skinning luck. So why does that matter? Whenever you do a profession, you will get luck for that profession if you're wearing the items. So if I have 0 skinning luck and I skin something, my chance of getting a rare or legendary leather that's required for some of the legendary weapons is pretty much next to nothing. As you can see here, there's Smolderhide, and other things of that nature that are required for even the blacksmithing weapons. So everyone's going to need this. So you're going to want to hold on to these set pieces that say mining luck, skinning luck, the high level versions of them, and use those to generate some of your materials to craft the legendaries. They're going to sell for high value in the market, and they're going to be needed by pretty much everyone. So how do you go about getting some of this like level 60? Like, why is it better to wait until 60? You're able to respec for 500 gold, as you can see on screen here. And what that allows you to do is to dump points into Constitution and just make a day out of it. Just say, all right, today I'm gonna chop trees. And why does it matter? 300 Constitution gives you a 25% chance to chop down a tree in a single swing. And this will allow you to deforest an area a lot faster than you would if you were just, going at it with your normal build. Strength also plays into mining for that, and some of the other attributes do increase, like fishing and skinning and different things of that regard. However, they're not as valuable. I just found that mining and logging seems to be the two that have that 25% proc chance, which really comes in handy for just going out, gathering a mass amount of materials, because the hardest part is leveling this profession up to 200. Like, it takes a while, a long while, and you'll need a lot of materials. As you can see, just browsing through the list, it wants 12 iron ingots, a bunch of timber, different things of that nature, and it only gets worse as you go up higher. So you're going to be mining a ton of iron, a ton of steel, or transmuting it into steel, a ton of star metal, and these things take time. It can take up to 20 to 30 seconds to mine a node, depending. So having a 25% chance to just instantly knock that out of the way is very, 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 very valuable. So with all of that into account, in the end game, in summary, you need 200 in stone crafting. One thing I did not touch too much on was you do need some arcana in order to level up your stone crafting, which I guess I'll take a look at that right now. But a lot of these gems to level up along the way require quintessence, which you can only make if you're in arcana, right? Some monsters in the world do drop it, but if you do want to access the full XP range of all the gems that you're going to be getting, like these fire ones and stuff, you're going to need to be able to make this quintessence yourself. So you're going to need 125 in alchemy or arcana. You're going to need 200 in stone crafting, and then you're going to need 200 in whatever profession your weapon category is in. So for a mage, that would be arcana. So I would need 200 arcana. For a melee person, that's going to be forging, right? Armor smithing or weapon smithing. You're going to need 200 in that category because these legendaries are requiring it. For people using dex weapons like the spear, you need 200 in engineering. So hatchet is the same way. So take a look at what you need, and that's going to kind of give you an idea of what profession you want to go, along with what leveling path you want to take. So your weapon will kind of dictate your profession. Anyways, I hope everyone found this a little bit helpful. I'm a little new to making these sort of things, but I have a lot of knowledge to share, so I will attempt to get better at it over time. If there's any way I can edit or chop up things to make sense in a better fashion, please feel free to kind of comment below. I'll try to do some sort of timestamp thing. I know I saw some people had that, and I think that would be good if people just wanted to browse around to certain areas. But yeah, thanks for your time, and I will see you in Aeternum on launch.